Don't ever touch that safe. If you do, it's all over. When I got home, the cash box was gone, and there was a letter and a signed divorce petition on the table. I'm tired of being sensible. Please sign and submit the divorce petition, Sophia. I looked up at the ceiling, holding back tears. Unable to contain myself, a tear slid down my cheek. You've already lost the bet, Aiden. I, Sophia, work as a tax accountant at a small office in a corner of Boston. Tax accounting isn't as glamorous as being a lawyer or a doctor, with no dramatic cases, and as a staff accountant, my job mainly involves supporting the senior accountants, which is pretty low-key. However, I take pride in handling important matters involving clients and the nation's money, where no careless work or mistakes are allowed. I think this job suits me. Live earnestly and honestly. My dad, who runs a tax office in a small town, always raised me with those words. Since childhood, I kept a record of my allowance and managed it myself, with saving being more of a lifestyle than a hobby. My mom died of illness when I was in high school. However, I felt distrust towards Dad, who went back to work the day after the funeral. Did he have no emotions? Dad didn't answer that question. I had friends, but I wasn't interested in fashion or idols, and I liked studying, so my path from public high school to college was a quiet and steady one. Even in college, there weren't many places to go out and have fun, and even if there were, I didn't go, so I obtained bookkeeping and accounting certifications while still in school. Of course, I had no romantic experiences. The only adventurous thing I did was move to Boston after graduation. It wasn't because I was attracted to Boston's glamour. It was simply because there were many offices hiring. Dad could run his office alone, and if I joined, it would just unnecessarily increase expenses. Fortunately, I had my certifications, so I easily got into the office I work at now. Honestly, I also wanted to get away from Dad. The town was prosperous, but while I continued working, I studied on weekends. It took me 2 years to get my tax accountant certification. I earned a relatively stable salary, and without aiming for a career advancement, one day in my late 20s, I got a call from Amelia. How's it going? Have you found someone you like yet? Amelia was a high school friend, sociable and stylish, the complete opposite of me, but somehow we got along. She had been in Boston since college, so we occasionally had meals together or chatted on the phone. She is very kind but has a tendency to worry, always concerned about my love life. Amelia got married a few years ago and has a young child. I know your personality well, Sophia, but are you planning to stay single forever? Well, it's not like I intend to, but as time goes by, having kids, raising them, it all becomes harder, doesn't it? Building a house, taking out education loans. Isn't it sensible to start thinking about these things now? I couldn't argue back. It wasn't like she was trying to one-up me, she was genuinely worried. Even so, I don't have any opportunities to meet anyone. Well, then, let me ask my husband. He might know some single guys. Just meet them once. If it doesn't work out, you can just say no. Amelia was pushy. But it's also true that unless someone pushes me like that, I wouldn't take any action myself. As I hesitated to reply, all right, I'll contact you once we set a date. Just text me the days and times you can't make it. I ended the call quickly, as if deciding on an ordinary dinner date. I felt like I had been caught in a sudden storm, but I didn't feel bad about it. Without opportunities like this, I might be alone forever. At my age, that thought was starting to feel like a reality. I thought about it for a day and texted Amelia my available dates. A week later, Amelia called. It's set. There's a salesman coming to my husband's company who really wants to meet you. I've reserved a private room at a restaurant near the station for Saturday at 6 p.m. Isn't that a bit sudden? I was talking about you to my colleagues, and it seems everyone is either married or has a girlfriend. Then this guy came up and asked, would I be okay? He's a bit unreliable at work, but he's talkative and energetic. It's not like you're deciding to date him, just meet him. You're coming, too, right? What are you talking about? I have to take care of my kids and husband. You're an adult now, you need to do this on your own. Don't go in your usual no makeup and plain clothes, dress up nicely. Oh, Anne. And? He's 2 years younger than us. Good luck. Amelia is really pushy. And being alone with a stranger makes me anxious. Well, he must feel the same way. Anyway, things have started moving. Since Amelia's husband and his business contacts are involved, I can't cancel just because I feel uneasy. I made up my mind. On the day, I put on makeup I usually don't wear and chose one of the nicer outfits I had bought for travel before heading to the restaurant. I arrived a little early, but there was no sign of anyone outside, so I went into the private room alone. At 6:10 p.m., he still hadn't arrived. Maybe his train is delayed. At 6:20 p.m., I started to worry that I had the wrong time or place and was about to check Amelia's text when a slender man rushed into the room. Sorry. Are you Sophia? I got caught up with some unexpected work. This is how I met my husband, Aiden. I thought it was a bad impression to be late on the first meeting, but I couldn't help but laugh at how desperately he apologized. It broke the ice a bit. Aiden tried hard to make up for his mistake, complimenting my gestures and outfit. With exaggerated reactions, he even knocked over his glass during the conversation. Oh no! Are you okay? I've never talked to this kind of guy at school or work. I wondered if this is what having a younger brother would be like. Contrary to my worries, there wasn't any awkward time, and Aiden was not only talkative but also good at drawing me out, making it an enjoyable evening. When it was time to pay, I took out my wallet. I'll pay since I'm the guy. He refused to take my money. In return, can I have your contact information? He asked, blushing a little. We exchanged contact information and parted ways. After that, Amelia set up dinners with a few other men. There was an executive from a listed company and an entrepreneur who had started his own business. They were all gentlemen and kind, but I didn't have as much fun with them as I did with Aiden. Aiden texted me every day. It wasn't anything important, but it became a source of comfort for me. He also started calling, and we even talked late into the night sometimes. Worried about Aiden's constant dining out, I would cook for him and clean his messy apartment. That's how we became a couple and decided to get married. Even though I introduced him to you, I never thought you'd marry someone like this. Amelia said, but I was happy. There were concerns about marrying Aiden. Aiden had debts and a habit of overspending. Even though he didn't earn much, he would spend money as soon as he got it. If he didn't have money, he would easily turn to lenders or cash advances. Also, there was still a lot of student loan debt left. If you don't have money, just borrow it. You can pay it back later. Of course, that wouldn't work for everyday life. First, we had to start by reducing the debt. I took control of Aiden's debit card and managed all the finances. Relying on my financial knowledge, I organized the debts, made a repayment plan, and somehow managed to make ends meet. Aiden lived in the apartment I had bought when I was single, so there was no worry about rent. I had a huge fight with my boss. When he quit his job before we got married, I was filled with worry. I thought about divorcing him and kicking him out, but by then, I was already pregnant. I was deeply in love and couldn't abandon Aiden at that point. If I left, Aiden would be on a path to destruction soon. He had been giving me his salary without complaints and enduring with little allowance. He also helped with housework and spoke kind words. I had a stable income, so I decided to endure and support him. Thanks to his communication skills, he soon started a part-time job, but his income dropped. For the sake of our child, I worked hard until just before giving birth and had to return to work soon after. Aiden helped with childcare and housework, which was a relief, and the debts gradually decreased. Our son Ethan grew attached to Aiden, who spent a lot of time at home. There was a reason why Aiden turned out this way. When Aiden was young, his parents divorced, and when he was 7, his mother, Emma, remarried his current father, Lucas. Lucas, a speculator, had bought expensive toys for poor Aiden, who was raised by Emma alone. Lucas was living large, driving luxury cars at the time. He soon started living with Emma. Aiden, who missed having a dad, quickly bonded with Lucas and was influenced by his way of thinking. Spend money when you have it. If you don't, borrow it or take it from someone who has it. Lucas would say this drunkenly, and even though Aiden didn't take it seriously, it was imprinted in his mind. Luxurious meals, game consoles, and luxury cars were all thanks to Lucas. But that life didn't last long. When Aiden was in high school, Lucas made a huge mistake in speculation and suddenly disappeared. Emma returned to an old apartment, and they were poor again. Aiden almost gave up on college, but with encouragement from teachers and Emma, he managed to graduate with scholarships and part-time jobs. When Emma collapsed from overwork and died while he was still in school, Aiden's life fell apart, but he managed to recover. I thought he was the complete opposite of my dad. Because of our debts, we didn't have a wedding ceremony. We just went to get a marriage license together. My dad hated debts, so I knew he would strongly oppose Aiden. After going to college, I didn't keep in touch much, so I just reported my marriage through a letter. A few days later, a package arrived at my apartment. Inside, there was a bank account in my name and a letter addressed to Aiden and me. The balance was $20,000. Feeling guilty about my actions, I wanted to call and return it right away, but I couldn't muster the courage. "Do you think they want us to use this money for the wedding?" Aiden said, but I hesitated to use it. I was tempted to use it for repaying our debts, but I decided against it. "We should return all of this once we've cleared our debts. It won't mean anything if we don't do it on our own." With that, I tucked the debit card into a lockbox. This lockbox was one of the few things I brought from my parents' home. Mom used it to manage cash until she passed away, and I took the empty box when I went to college. All our family money, from childhood savings to the house deed, was stored in this box. I never let Aiden touch this box, and I didn't share the passcode with him. "Don't you trust me that much?" He seemed a bit disgruntled, but he respected the rule. I didn't open the envelope. I felt that reading it might destroy something. When Ethan was born, during his school entrance and graduation ceremonies, and when he wore his high school uniform, I sent photos to Dad. From Dad, I received letters with a single line that read, "Congratulations on entering high school, Ethan." Given Dad's personality, I assumed money was being transferred into the bank account. But I didn't bother to check. There were ups and downs. Aiden quit his job again, and I had to convince Ethan to pursue college instead of jumping straight into a job after high school, and 20 years later, we were close to paying off our debt. Aiden took on double shifts at the supermarket and quit smoking and gambling. Ethan, too, although he had his wants, studied hard and got into a prestigious public high school, then a top university. At my office, I started getting assigned bigger projects. I felt assured that I could face Dad with pride, but then an incident occurred. I met Dad. He said he was approached as he was leaving the supermarket after his shift. Aiden? It's been a while. The man, looking older and thinner than before, was undeniably the missing Lucas. Where have you been? Do you know how much Mom and I suffered? I'm sorry I left without a word back then. I had no other choice. Lucas had recently moved nearby and spotted Aiden working at the supermarket by chance, waiting until his shift ended. So, what happened after that? I told him Mom had passed away, shared some updates, and we parted ways. Since he lives nearby, we might meet again. Aiden fell silent, so I didn't press further. He probably had a lot on his mind. No matter what happened, your family now is me and Ethan. Let's focus on the future. Yeah, you're right. That was the end of that conversation for the day. However, from that day on, Aiden started to change. He came home later, sometimes drunk. There was a faint smell of cigarettes on his clothes. Could you increase my allowance a bit? We're almost done paying off the debt. He had never asked for an allowance increase before. Meeting Lucas must have stirred something in him. Given how long he'd endured without complaints, I felt bad about flatly denying his request. Sure, but do you have any specific plans for it? Actually, I've been meeting up with Dad occasionally. After that, Lucas and Aiden visited the supermarket and exchanged contact information. At first, he planned to confront him about why he left and abandoned them. It's a bit inconvenient to talk here at the store. Could you spare some time? They had several conversations over drinks. Dad's been through a lot. Although there were certainly hard feelings, they couldn't deny that some of the best family moments happened when Lucas was around. They reminisced about the past, recalling memories, and found it hard to keep hating him. I couldn't say anything. For Aiden, Lucas was the only person he could call a parent now. Considering my own relationship with my dad, I wasn't in a position to advise Aiden. As Aiden's allowance increased, his return times became more irregular. His behavior also started to change. Once the debt is paid off, how about a trip to Las Vegas? It's good to be practical, but a man sometimes wants to hit it big, right? It's a bit of a pride thing to not be trusted with the money. There were times when Lucas brought him home completely drunk. You're Aiden's wife. You have a nice old house here. Despite his rude, ungrateful attitude, I politely thanked him. I'm sorry for the trouble. Would you like to come in for some coffee? No, thanks. I've caused enough trouble already. There was something dangerously charming about Lucas's smile. I could see why people might be drawn to someone like him. I heard you've been helping reduce the debt for many years. Thank you. Aiden is grateful too. Well, being practical is my only strength. If it were me, I'd take a gamble to settle things all at once, but men and women think about money differently. And it's not my place to say, given my track record. Your name is Sophia, right? Being practical is good. Aiden seems to be under a lot of stress, so let him have some freedom occasionally. Anyway, I'm heading home. With that, Lucas left. A sense of foreboding deepened. About a month later, Aiden came home drunk and suddenly asked, By the way, how much do you think is in that bank account your dad gave us? I haven't checked. We agreed not to use it, remember? Why? I was just thinking that if we used it, we could finish paying off the debt sooner. It's a waste to keep paying interest. I've explained that it's part of the repayment plan, so there's no need to worry. You're not borrowing money from somewhere, are you? I haven't had the freedom to play around for the last 20 years. But instead of locking it away, it might be more efficient to invest or something. I think it's fine as it is. Money is meant to be used. Anyway, I've got a busy day tomorrow with my part-time jobs, so good night. Aiden was clearly influenced by Lucas. Danger signals went off in my head. Wait. What? I'm really tired. Don't touch that safe. If you do, it's over. I know. Stop nagging. Good night. Aiden slammed the bedroom door. Ethan peeked out from the next room, looking surprised. What happened? Mom, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Dad might have had a bit too much to drink. A week later, I came home to find the safe gone, with a letter and signed divorce papers on the table. After a moment of stunned silence, I opened the letter. Sophia, I'm going to be free. I've endured it for 20 years, so it's enough now. I want to take gambling as a man. You, being a woman, won't understand this feeling. Dad has got a surefire way to make a lot of money. He needs the initial investment, so I'll take the money from the safe. I'll send you back 10 times the amount once it works out, so please wait for a bit. However, I don't plan to return. I'm tired of living a steady life. Sign the divorce papers and submit them. Ethan, as a man, you should chase your dreams. Dad wasted 20 years of his life. Find a wife who will follow you quietly. I stare at the ceiling, holding back my tears. Unable to bear it, a tear rolls down my cheek. After staying like that for a while, I mutter. You've already lost the bet, Aiden. I muster the courage and call out towards the door. Ethan, did it go well? Yeah, Mom. I got it perfectly. After that argument, Ethan had overheard Aiden talking on the phone with Lucas. It was then he realized Aiden was planning to steal the safe. The locksmith he planned to take it to and the escape plan were detailed in Aiden's notebook. Ethan took the notebook from a sleeping Aiden, photographed all its contents with his smartphone, and put it back. It included the execution date and the meeting date with Lucas. I replaced the safe with a dummy of the same type and went to the police with the evidence photos. To my surprise, Lucas was already on the police radar for financial fraud. Ethan also set up a webcam near the safe to capture the decisive evidence of the theft. Instead of a debit card, there was a GPS tag inside the safe. Aiden was apprehended near the locksmiths on the street where he was supposed to meet Lucas. But perhaps the biggest loser was me. I had gambled. That Aiden would reconsider and not touch the safe at the last moment. That he would cut ties with Lucas, who proposed such a plan. However, that didn't happen. I quickly submitted the divorce papers. With other charges, Lucas got a prison sentence, and Aiden, with a theft charge from family, got probation but was not allowed to return home. You wanted to be free, right? I'm letting you go. I don't want to follow your back. It was just a momentary lapse in judgment. He pleaded like that, but with that momentary lapse, he threw away 20 years of family life. I can't find forgiveness in my heart. I look again at the safe that had protected me. It was plain and awkward, but the safe left behind by Mom had safeguarded us all this time. I gently opened it, and for the first time, I opened a letter from Dad. Sophia, congratulations on your marriage. Mom is surely happy in heaven. I don't have the right to say this, as I was not there for the family much, but I hope you build a happy home. Aiden, please take good care of Sophia. Dad loved Mom deeply, and he always cared about me too. But he didn't know how to express it and could only show his way of a happy life through the methods he knew. The regret of letting Mom pass away first and not finding the words to console me during my teenage years after losing Mom left an emotional gap that never closed over time. I, on my part, avoided confronting Dad. I rebelled to escape the guilt, immersing myself in studies and work, and I think a part of me intentionally subjected myself to a harsh lifestyle as a form of self-punishment. It wasn't just Aiden who abandoned the family ties, I did too. When I checked the bank account, I was shocked to find a large sum of $500,000 deposited. Surprised, I called, only to find out that Dad had already left his office, sold both the office and the parents' home, and moved into a smaller house. After ensuring he had enough for himself to live on and adding his savings, he deposited the remaining amount into the bank account as a living gift after taking care of taxes. None of this was mentioned in the letter. I gratefully used the money to set up my own office, under the same CPA office name as Dad's. While Ethan, currently studying to become a CPA, will join this office is uncertain, but if he ever wants to come back, there will be a place for him. During the next long weekend, I'll take Ethan to visit Dad. I hope we can gradually and steadily untangle the knots in our family bonds. My husband John was snuggling up to my sister Nicole like they were lovers. "Forgive me, Victoria, I've finally found my soulmate. We met each other too late in life." The two of them were getting all excited. Just then, my son Stephen came home. John firmly embraced an unsteady Nicole. Stephen witnessed this worst-case scenario unfold before his eyes. Oh my, what a movie-like development this is. Nicole is my destiny. Divorce and get out. I can't believe this is happening. Was this the foreboding feeling I had in my chest? My name is Victoria, and I'm 47 years old. It's just the three of us, me, John, and my son Stephen. Stephen graduated from college this year and started working. He's now a full-fledged member of society. As for me, I also became a full-time employee at the company where I had been working part-time for many years. They kindly offered me the position, saying that now that child rearing has settled down, I could take on more responsibility. I love my job, and my workplace is filled with wonderful people. Getting a raise makes me really happy. However, my working hours have become a bit longer than before. So, you're telling me to help out with the housework? John's face looks dissatisfied. I didn't say anything about helping out. I just asked you to wash your own lunchbox, that's all. I've been working part-time from morning till evening, preparing meals, making lunchboxes, cleaning the bathroom, and doing all the other household chores. I thought that was the norm. But yesterday, I had an epiphany. Stephen, who commutes to work from home, came back and washed his own lunchbox. It was an unexpected turn of events. Of course. That's how it should be. I was convinced of my success in raising my child. At the same time, I was stunned to realize that I had been neglecting John, who doesn't do anything, all this time. It's my fault for doing everything for him. I thought it couldn't be helped, but Stephen, who lives in the same environment, took it upon himself to wash his lunchbox. Which means I'm not in the wrong. It's John, who lacks compassion, who is at fault. However, compassion isn't something that can be forced upon someone. So could you at least wash your lunchbox on the days when I come home late? I said it in a very reserved and polite manner. And yet, even though I'm being so humble, he has this dissatisfied look on his face. Forget compassion, he doesn't have a shred of kindness. He must think of me as some kind of maid or something. Oh man, you became a full-time employee without even consulting me, and now you don't want to do the housework. You've sure gotten high and mighty. His way of speaking gets on my nerves. I never said I don't want to do the housework. And I did consult you. When I told you my salary would be better, you were happy too, weren't you? Did I say that? I feel foolish for waking up early every day to make lunchboxes. Can't he imagine the stress of seeing the unwashed lunchbox from the previous day sitting in the sink? He let out an exaggerated big sigh and said, "Just buy another lunchbox, then you can use them alternately." When I heard that, my shoulders slumped in disappointment. It seems he has no intention of washing it no matter what. The next day, I got a call on my smartphone from someone unusual. "Hello, Victoria, it's been a while." "Nickel? What's up?" It was my younger sister, Nickel. When she was in her 20s, she suddenly said to the company our parents had introduced her to, "This narrow place isn't for me. I'm outta here." She slapped her resignation letter on her boss's face and fled overseas. I don't know what triggered it. I think it might have been a TV show she watched the day before. She's an unbelievable kid, but she's always been like this. I remember vividly how sorry I felt for our haggard parents who went to apologize to the company she had caused trouble for. After traveling around the world, she ended up marrying a Frenchman. I had always been surprised by her proactiveness and curiosity since she was little, but I never thought she would have an international marriage. Moreover, when she reported her marriage over a single phone call without any prior consultation, the whole family was shocked. Since then, she only returned to the country once to attend my wedding, and we hardly ever contact each other. I was just confirming her existence through her social media updates. After that, I moved out of state, had Stephen, and spent my days busily. As long as she's living a healthy life, it's all good. So I figured. I wonder what happened for Nickel, who I haven't heard from in a long time, to contact me out of the blue? Could it be some major incident? Or is it just a whim? I braced myself, but the content of the conversation was beyond my imagination. I got divorced. What? Divorced. So, I'm coming back. Huh? Nickel's French husband was a businessman, and she was living a luxurious life in a mansion. She had unlimited access to a pool and sauna, and even had a maid, living an enviable life of luxury. The procedures are finally over, so I'm coming back on a plane tomorrow. Victoria, can you come pick me up at the airport in the evening? Huh? You can't just say that all of a sudden. Please. I have work, you know. You're prioritizing work over your sister who's coming back after so long. But it's too sudden. Come on, Vicky. Vicky. That nostalgic nickname. Come to think of it, Nickel has always called me that. She's a sly one. As an older sister, I can't help but want to listen to my younger sister's request. All right, I'll figure something out. Yay! By the way, can I stay at your place for a while? I guess I have no choice. Yay! Then, I'm counting on you. Even though I agreed to pick her up, I have an important meeting scheduled for tomorrow. As I was worrying about the hassle of rearranging my schedule, John came home from work just in time. When I asked him as a last resort, he surprisingly agreed right away. You're a lifesaver, thank you. But can you take a day off work? I'm free tomorrow, so it's not a problem. That's great. I was worried if I would remember Nickel's face since I haven't seen her since the wedding, but don't worry. Your sister is flashy and stands out. I won't deny it, but his way of saying it is terrible. It suddenly crossed my mind, but will it be okay to leave John and Nickel alone together? It takes about an hour by car from the airport to our house. Let's imagine it. Nickel with her noisy personality making a ruckus in the car, and John scolding her in a condescending manner. They absolutely have a bad compatibility. I have a bad feeling about this.
Hey, be nice to her, okay?
Huh? What are you talking about? I'll drive safely, of course. That's not what I meant. Get along with her. I got it. I warned him, but what is this uneasiness I feel? That night, Stephen washes his lunchbox after coming home. He also washes John's lunchbox without a word of complaint. As I gaze at him intently, I think, whoever becomes this child's wife will be a lucky person. It's only natural to want to spend the rest of your life with your spouse. Even if it's John, an inconsiderate man who won't even wash his lunchbox, he's the person I chose. At our wedding, we vowed, we'll share our joys and sorrows equally. Wasn't that a promise to treat each other as equals? Even though we were supposed to be destined partners. Even though I was certain we would be happy when we got married. I'm sure Nicole felt the same way. How deep must the wounds from her divorce be? There's no use getting depressed thinking about such things. I need to change my mindset. When Nicole comes back, I'll listen to her a lot. I'll support her so she can live comfortably. What's wrong, Mom? Lost in thought? Stephen, who noticed me deep in thought, asked curiously. Come to think of it, this child has never met Nicole. I wonder if I should talk to him so he won't be surprised when he first meets my unique sister. I thought about telling John too, but no matter how many times I call him, he's holed up in his room, engrossed in his games. He really does whatever he wants. You know, my sister is coming back from France tomorrow. Stephen listened intently to my long story. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. The next day in the evening, I rushed out of the company on time. Bought Nicole's favorite steak at the supermarket and hurried home. As I was finishing up preparing dinner, John's car with Nicole inside arrived. Welcome back. I head towards the entrance to greet Nicole. Nicole with her large luggage, and John with his arm around her shoulder. Huh? What? Why does he have his arm around her shoulder? Looking closer, Nicole also has her hand around John's waist. No matter how much she's coming back from America, this level of physical contact is excessive. Long time no see. I missed you, Victoria. Nicole doesn't seem to mind.
Hey, why are you two so close together?
As I ask in bewilderment, John says exasperatedly, didn't you tell us to get along? I did, but isn't this weird? There's nothing weird about it. Huh? That's right, it's only natural. Are you joking? I feel discomfort at the two of them getting even closer. It's not a joke at all. You probably wouldn't understand our connection. What? I finally found my destined partner. John's eyes are shining. What are you saying? That's my sister Nicole. Nicole. That's right, Nicole. What is it, John? Nicole calls John's name in a coquettish voice. I wish we had met sooner. We wasted time that we could have spent loving each other. It's okay, John. We can still make up for it. I watched their ridiculous behavior expressionlessly. You two met once at my wedding and even greeted each other then. Yes. Is this a hidden camera prank? Or musical rehearsal? Can you stop now? Amazed, I say this to them, and then, it's your fault to begin with. I'm suddenly falsely accused. If you weren't here, we could have met much earlier. What? Today, when I found Nicole shining alone amidst the crowd at the airport, it felt like I was struck by lightning. Me too. The moment our eyes met, it was love at first sight. I thought my legs would give out. Hey now. I let out a sigh. Stop it already, this is stupid. What? Stephen will be home soon too, so break it up. Are you trying to tear us apart? This is absurd. How did it come to this?
Vicky, don't be jealous just because John was taken from you.
I don't even feel like responding.
Get over it already. You're right, let's end this already. And start our happy future together.
John, how wonderful. I don't know what I'm being shown.
Hey, what on earth happened with you two?
I keep telling you, it's destiny.
That's right.
Could these two be? I'm startled. Is this what my bad premonition was about? They both have intense convictions and tend to get carried away. There's a possibility they're mistaken.
Hey, both of you calm down and listen. No matter what you say, my feelings won't change. That's not it, there's something I want to confirm.
As I say that, Stephen comes home.
I'm back.
My heart races. I don't want Stephen to see the two of them cuddling. Thinking that, I instinctively pull Nickel's arm.
Ouch!
John firmly catches the stumbling Nickel. Stephen witnesses this worst-case scenario. What is this movie-like development?
Nickel, nice to meet you. Hey, what's going on?
Stephen asks in bewilderment, and John answers.
You saw it too, right, Stephen?
It's horrible, isn't it?
What is? Dad can't be with a woman who would assault her just because she doesn't like her. What do you mean? She's my destined person. Divorce and get out.
I'm at a loss for words. You can't say that even as a joke. Victoria, too bad. Nickel, still embracing John, says with a triumphant look. Hearing that, Stephen,
Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha.
Bursts out laughing loudly.
Stop it, Dad. Ha ha ha.
I can't hold back anymore and also burst out laughing.
Dad, what are you saying? You can't get divorced, right?
John, not understanding why we're laughing.
What's so funny?
Gets angry. Nickel also seems to be in a bad mood.
Vicky's son is a weird kid.
And glared at him.
Putting aside whether you two are serious, first listen to what I have to say.
When I say that.
No way. Don't interfere with us.
She covers her ears with both hands and shakes her head. Just like a tragic heroine.
Hey John, let's go. I don't want to be in a place like this anymore.
Clinging to John's arm, Nickel said that and left with him. As I stood there motionless, Stephen called out to me. Mom, are you okay? I know I should stop them or go after them. But even if I don't, I'm sure those two will come back soon. However, being told to get a divorce and leave, I can't forgive them that easily.
Well, what should I do?
A few hours later. Late into the night, John came back alone. I wondered what he would say first, and then.
You tricked me.
He said that with a face red with anger.
This isn't what we talked about.
Stephen and I were appalled.
Tricked. Not what we talked about?
He's just making accusations. Last night, I told Stephen about it. You were too absorbed in your game to listen, but Nickel was living a luxurious life in a mansion in France. Because she had a wealthy husband. That's all John knew about his sister-in-law Nickel. He apparently had an overbearing personality and would lash out at her. He was very controlling, had a self-centered attitude that made people uncomfortable, and they argued constantly every day. She was reluctant to give up her lavish lifestyle, but couldn't stand living with him anymore and chose divorce. Their prenup stated there would be no division of assets, so she's returning to the US with almost no money. When I found out about this in a phone call before her return.
At least he's paying for my return flight,
Nickel said, and I retorted angrily.
No division of assets is absurd. Why did you agree to that?
I couldn't accept it, but she sounded fed up.
It's already done, so whatever. Prenups are customary in France to begin with. The assets are in his parents' names, and he actually has a lot of debt too.
Her dismissive attitude made my blood boil, and I persisted.
Don't be so nonchalant. You need to handle that properly. Enough already. I'll just snag another rich man when I'm back in the US.
What is she saying at her age? But strangely, I understood. I thought that sounded just like her. I never dreamed she would snag my husband, though.
You thought Nickel was coming back with a ton of money?
When I asked that, John made a face like I hit the nail on the head.
Well, yeah, if she divorced a rich husband, you'd normally think she got a hefty sum. But she's broke and was after my income.
Stephen and I looked at the unabashed John with cold eyes.
Your income, huh? What's with that look?
Oops, my poker face must have slipped again. Birds of a feather. You wanted Nickel's money, didn't you?
It's only natural I'd want to switch to Nickel, who said she fell for me at first sight, over a nagging, stingy wife like you, right?
But you get it now, don't you?
Ugh.
John bit his lip.
That's right. Her saying she fell for me at first sight was a lie. I just got carried away.
So you left Nickel and came back?
I'm the one who got left behind,
he said bitterly, shoulders slumped.
Why? That's. I get it without you saying it.
I sighed and said,
That's why I told you to listen. You're both mistaken.
Here, let me explain John's situation. John worked at a famous trading company for many years, steadily getting raises. That's all Nickel knew about my husband John. About 5 years ago, his health deteriorated. A tyrannical boss had targeted him and was harassing him. He had just become a section chief, but he smiled less, lost his appetite, and went to work every day looking miserable. I couldn't bear to see John like that and encouraged him to quit. There was no need to push himself to the point of ruining his health. We could get by if we were frugal. John quit his job and has been working in a factory as a temp ever since. John's salary was halved, but I became a full-time employee and Stephen got a job too. We're no longer struggling for money. The proud John got depressed at times, but after I told him,
You worked so hard to support us all this time, it's okay,
he stopped worrying about it. John, with his smile back, thanked me many times. That was enough. As long as he's healthy, that's all our family needs. But recently, John seems to have completely forgotten that. I didn't intend to hold it over his head or blame him. We're husband and wife, so I thought we should support each other. Yes, until today.
When Nickel heard my story, she got mad saying this isn't what we talked about and stormed off somewhere. Hey, I'm not in the wrong, am I?
You are all wrong, Dad, Stephen said before I could reply.
What's with that tone towards your dad? I'm saying this with full understanding. I feel bad for Mom.
John flinched. Of course he can't argue back.
I got angry at you acting all high and mighty. I used to make more money, but you looked down on me telling me to wash the lunchboxes. Dad! Enough, I'll read.
John looks so small. Or has Stephen grown up?
I know you too well, so let me tell you, you have the worst compatibility. And yet, calling each other destined partners, I thought you were joking around. So that's how it was. Sorry, but I saw through it from the start.
The domineering husband John and the free-spirited, female supremacist Nickel. Without ulterior motives, there's no way they could be together. They were just blinded by each other's non-existent money.
So, are we getting a divorce? No, that was just a misunderstanding. Be clear about it. I think your attitude was bad too. Dad. Yes.
John flinched when Stephen glared at him. Pathetic. Let's make things clear.
What if Nicole comes back and says she wants to marry you even if you're just a temp factory worker? Huh? Can you live together, just the two of you, with Nicole who has no money? What? What?
Isn't she your destined partner? I said while looking straight at John. John, whose face was getting paler and paler, slowly shook his head. I'm sorry.
Hey!
I'm asking, what are you going to do? When I called out, the person who awkwardly came out from the back of the room was
Nicole? You were here. I was here.
When Nicole found out John switched jobs and had a low salary.
Take responsibility.
She burst in making a fuss. She had been hiding because John came home while she was stunned after learning the situation.
You're awful, John. You were only after my money. Hey, you too, right? If John had stayed at his high-paying job, were you seriously going to steal him away from us?
When I asked Nicole, she denied it with all her might. I'll be honest. I was desperate.
What did you say?
I have no job, no friends, and I'm anxious about the future. I thought I'd be secure with your husband.
I see.
She must have been filled with anxiety after divorcing and returning home, wanting a stable life as soon as possible. I'm this girl's older sister, so I painfully understand her feelings.
As if I could understand.
Huh?
I have no sympathy for you. You almost destroyed a family.
I'm sorry. Forgive me.
Go back to your parents' home right now. No way! Not that.
Nicole doesn't get along with her parents back home. Plus, she's infamous in a bad way in her hometown, so it's uncomfortable for her. In a small rural town, it's no wonder someone who ran away from the job she was introduced to isn't thought of well. You said you'd let me stay for a while. Impossible.
Huh? I can't let a sister who tries to steal someone's husband stay because it's too risky. I have no use for John and his temp job anymore. I wouldn't have paid attention to you either if you had no money.
Hey now. I wondered what to do with these two immature people, but Stephen spoke before I could.
I want both of you to get out of here quickly.
The two held their breath at his cold words. Even coming from the gentle Stephen, it feels terrifying.
Stephen, why did you burst out laughing earlier? Did you know it would turn out like this?
John asked timidly.
I laughed in dismay, surprised at how thoughtless my own father is. Eek!
John cowered. Stephen, who's smiling, but his eyes aren't as frightening.
I thought, Dad can't live without Mom, so what on earth is he saying? Huh? Did you know Dad is only alive because Mom spoils him? What?
Stephen saw right through him. John's face that had turned pale was visibly turning red. He's not angry. He's embarrassed. We've been together for years, so I can tell at a glance.
If you get it, show some gratitude to Mom. Mom, you spoiled Dad too much too.
I nodded with a wry smile. I don't know which one of us is the parent here. He's a reliable son. I'm confident in my parenting success, even if it took a while. I'm sorry. Please forgive me.
You think I can forgive you that easily? Do you understand how I feel being told you want a divorce?
I'll wash the lunchboxes.
Huh?
When I raised my hand to smack him, Stephen put his hand on John's shoulder. Dad.
You don't really mean that, right? Eek!
I'll leave the rest to Stephen, whom I trust. It's already late at night. It's been a long day. I contacted her parents and put Nicole, who was starting to suffer from jet lag, and her luggage on an overnight bus to her hometown. Let's have her go back quickly while we can. It's okay, someone as tough as you will soon find your next destined person. About a month passed. As soon as Nickel went back to her parents' home. I hate this rural place. I want to live at your house. She called, but I firmly turned her down, as expected. Now, she got a job as a caregiver through her parents' introduction. That's a relief. Apparently, she had to write a pledge saying, "I won't run away next time." However, she's out of touch with the world after living in France for many years, and with her personality on top of that. I was worried she would cause trouble right away, but unexpectedly, the elderly seemed to like her for her inherent cheerfulness and easygoing nature.
What's the point of being popular with old people? Where are the rich and handsome men?
Oh, Nickel. You might have looked young in France, but you're 45 years old. You'll realize it soon, but there's little hope in the countryside. It's naive to think you can rely on someone else to get through life. Give up on that and acquire the skills to live on your own from now on. And make it up to your parents who you made worry so much until now. John never gets good at a single household chore no matter how much time passes. The laundry is full of wrinkles, he fails at cooking even when looking at a recipe book, and he makes a mess while cleaning. It's enough to break my spirit. But I have no intention of spoiling him.
Do it over. Get it together already.
I'm sorry.
If you forget, take notes. You can't even figure that out? Yes.
Dad. You have no sense for this.
Ugh.
His pride was shattered, scoffed at by Stephen, who skillfully handles everything. But for now he's enduring it without complaint, so he seems to understand his position. The final goal is to make a lunch. Considering color balance and nutrition, packing it into a designated box is an advanced level among household chores. You have to keep track of what's stocked in the fridge too. And if you know the hardship of the one making it, not washing the lunchbox isn't even an option. We made a vow. I won't let him say he forgot. We share the joys and sorrows equally. That's right, work and chores are split in half too. Equality is a given. A married couple should support each other in life, don't you think?